Hey everyone, Perlox here for the first ever episode of Mr. Dr. VR, a series about retro VR gaming from the early 21st century when it was first developing, long before AI, sex robots, spark jets, QI chips, before Mars. People were just stepping into the virtual worlds that we now all take for granted. I managed to find a good condition first generation HTC Vive and hacked a bunch of old games on a platform called Steam that used to be popular. It was a royal pain in the ass, but it's working now and I managed to find a bunch of games that I will be sending your way, so stay tuned. Shut up, Beacon, I'm trying to make a video. So today we're taking a look at Skyrim. No, not Skyrim Standard Edition, not Skyrim Game of the Year Edition either, or Special Edition, or Open World, or Free to Play, or Online Edition, or the Multiplayer Mod, not Skyrim Final Cut, or the Ultimate Edition, not even the Secret Skyrim Black Edition re-release. Today we're talking about Skyrim VR. First up, this version of Skyrim, like all the others, is just a rehash of the original game. Somehow Bethesda, the company that owns the Elder Scrolls series, managed to release about 30 versions of Skyrim and managed to also sell all those copies. I don't know how that was possible, it's amazing, but Skyrim VR was unique in that it was the first VR release or port of the base game. So the first thing you'll notice or need to know when playing it is that this is Skyrim. There's nothing new here. It's the same content you've played a million times before. So prepare to be bored. Prepare for your 50th botched beheading scene. It's all the same shit. Overall, I was impressed with the graphics and it felt amazing, almost magical to be dropped into an old school Elder Scrolls world. I had played it previously but taken a long break, and when I came back I was pleasantly surprised at how good it looked. However, the graphics aren't crisp like some VR games from this period, and there is that trademark haze or blurriness that plagues some early VR games, like Fallout 4 VR, which was also made by Bethesda. Of course, if you're feeling ambitious, you can dig up an old I&I tweaking megathread from the internet and tweak the graphic settings to your heart's content. One thing that stood out immediately with this game was how cheap or secondary the audio was. In modern VR, and even shortly after the early days of VR, audio took much more of a front seat in the development process as they realized how important realistic spatial audio was at improving the immersive experience of VR. So having higher definition audio would have been a huge improvement for a game like this. But overall, the audio is satisfactory, just not impressive and sometimes lessened the immersive experience. No, you can't be in the video, you don't even have a body. Get out of here, I'm trying to be famous. Yes, they have movement in this game, which sounds ridiculous to say, but there were games back then that actually didn't have movement, so I suppose it's worth pointing out. Of course, it pales in comparison to what we have now, but the game has teleportation mode and free movement via the trackpad on the Vive controller. You can also press it to sprint. They also have a number of motion sickness options because that was sort of a big deal back then when VR first came out. Obviously, we have a number of more practical, long-term solutions to that problem, but back then people needed options like this, and Skyrim has a decent selection. I was also pleased to see that most of them could be disabled with the exception of smooth turning, which is just kind of a bizarre option, but I suppose it made sense at the time. Regardless, as I played, I rarely ever accidentally swiped it, so it wasn't really a problem anyway, but it would have been great if I could have disabled it completely. They also have a number of VR performance settings with some presets, low, medium, high, and extreme or something like that. This gives you some control at smoothing out your experience. This is actually still relevant because to play these games, you have to build or find an old school PC. The PC I managed to scrap together is fairly powerful for the time, but these options still came into play because I wasn't able to max out all the settings. So I was pleased to see about 15 to 20 readily available options for tweaking the performance. And again, if you want to go deep into customizing those settings, you can explore the I&I megathreads I mentioned earlier. I found the controls to be semi-intuitive. They do take a bit to learn, but overall everything seems to be covered from the original game. It does feel like you have to memorize the controls though, whereas some games just feel intuitive, especially nowadays. But surprisingly, you can do pretty much everything. Interact, open menus, combat with just the Vive controllers, which is impressive since they don't have a ton of buttons. Also, interactions like lock-picking translate really well to the Vive, and I didn't have any trouble figuring it out, which was great. They also have a fairly comprehensive in-game help section, so if you forget anything or need guidance, it can point you in the right direction. However, navigating the menus, managing inventory, etc. as expected with an Elder Scrolls game was a pain in the ass. It's not bad per se, but it doesn't feel optimized. You have to dig in, open and close numerous overlapping menus, use the back button a lot. We've seen some brilliant UIs developed over the years, but this just isn't optimized for VR yet, which shouldn't come as a surprise since the base game also had that problem, and Bethesda seems to struggle with menu design in general. So prepare for some annoyances, but overall it's fine. The interface or HUD is minimal and has options to turn things on and off, which is great. I really prefer clean, minimal interfaces in games, especially in VR, to boost the realism, and I'm happy that nothing feels in the way. 99% of the screen is always just pure Skyrim, rather than things popping up or bars and windows that take up space. So positive points there. Lastly, and most important, is that it has Skyrim Special Edition plugin support. I would have been extremely disappointed if plugins didn't work because they allowed me to experience the game in a fresh, new way. I highly recommend installing some realistic damage mods, juicing up the difficulty, and disabling the crosshair to have a truly challenging experience. I love the lethality of single, powerful attacks and arrows killing you in a single hit. I also love the random start mods that just drop you somewhere in the world. It offers you a great chance to roleplay your own story like in D&D, which I'm also a huge fan of. If you haven't played with some of those mods, you are seriously missing out on some fascinating opportunities that make Skyrim significantly more interesting. So that's it. If you're thinking about playing Skyrim VR, it's definitely worth the trouble, with caveats being that it won't be a new experience. You might spend a decent amount of time tweaking and installing plugins, and it's a little buggy from time to time, but overall it's a game you don't want to miss out on and a great stepping stone for what's to come. I give the base game a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10 with a solid mod selection. Okay, Beacon, I'm done. What do you want? What?
The name's Jeb. I've been living at Half Moon Mill for too long. They say a serial killer starts with animals. I guess it was just that time. My wife giving me lip again. I was saying the same damn things. Maybe that's why I snapped. Doesn't really matter anymore. After that, I got in with a bad crowd. Killing for money. Killing just for the hell of it.
What you gonna do? Your friends are dead, motherfucker. Yeah, that's what I thought, bitch.
These boys didn't even do anything. Just the wrong place at the wrong time.
Come on, what you got? What you got? What you got? Fuck.
There were close calls, but I always managed to live another day. Funny how that works.
Go, go, go.
I always felt like God was mocking me. I killed dozens. After a while, I lost count. Probably not a good sign.
You motherfucker.
I traveled far. Never stayed one place long. There were people looking for me.
So cold. We gotta find shelter, Hod.
That's when I met a man named Hod.
Oh, look. Safety of a crypt.
He was a good guy.
They're usually nice and warm inside, I think.
It's nice to share the battlefield with a friend.
I believe they're usually unoccupied as well. Just dead people. Let's check it out.
He always had my back, and I can't thank him enough for saving my ass so many times.
Oh, shit! Motherfucker. I was not expecting that. That scares the shit out of me.
Sometimes I wish we could go back to those days and fight side by side. One more time.
Hod behind you! We got another one. He's got a big fucking axe.
Time to finish this!
Holy shit, you almost chopped my head off.
I remember when we got lost in that crypt. Separated.
No consequences. Fuck your shrine.
Fighting alone in that godforsaken place. I'd never been so scared.
Oh fuck. Oh, I can't believe.
Fortunately, Hod's associates arrived just in time, and we brought the hammer of God down on those undead fucks and their misguided leader, Vals Veron. A real piece of shit.
Nice cover fire. Watch your back, you idiots!
You did the world a favor, but I'm not asking for thanks.
Oh yeah. He got him.
Just forgiveness.
Oh fuck.
For a time, I was happy. But everything good must come to an end.
Yeah.
The worst day of my life. Barbara. The town turned against me. I panicked. Fought my way out. But what met me on the other side? Just a little girl. The memory haunts me. Now I am truly a forsaken soul. After that, I was just killing without a purpose, hoping that someone would kill me.
Warm sands, friend.
I knew Hod was concerned. He followed me everywhere. Had my back. But when I turned on the locals near Whiterun, he turned on me. I cut him down.
Motherfucker, we were on the same team.
I should have felt something, but it was just emptiness. That little girl took the last of my life. So it just kept on killing.
Never should have come.
Man or woman, it no longer mattered.
I'm not going to warn you again.
I'm warning you. Back off.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
I barely even flinched when I split the skull of an innocent Khajiit.
You're not supposed to be here.
Or when I killed the owner of Hunting Brew Meadery and his entire staff.
Last warning. Leave now.
You.
As good as what do you think you're doing?
I started to really lose my mind at that point.
Oh shit. Oh shit.
Taunting the guard as he shot arrows at me. I didn't even care.
Woo! Come on, bitch. Come on. What you got? Oh, god damn it.
I barely felt the pain anymore. When the guards finally tracked me down, I smiled.
Come on. What you
I
got?
knew what was coming.
Oh shit.
It was time to end this, once and for all. But those bastards kept me alive. I woke up in jail with Hod. He forgave me and the two of us busted out. Even with the guaranteed execution, I still didn't want to die. Not like this. I needed a fight. We ran, rode, then ran some more. We made it to a small mining town. We figured they wouldn't know who we were. We were wrong.
Over here. Help. Whoa! Son of a bitch!
They recognized us immediately and our final battle finally took place.
What? I didn't do anything wrong! You son of a bitch!
It wasn't the glorious death I wanted, but it was death, and I'll take what I can get. In that moment before I died, I remembered the mammoth. That one moment in my life when I felt peace and connection with the world. Hod thought I was crazy to approach it, but I could sense what it was feeling. It was beautiful.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
I'll never really understand it.
Oh, he looked at me. Yeah, it's okay. There you go. Just gonna pet you. There you go. That's a good mammoth. Good job. Oh, well, it's okay. Not gonna hurt you. Yeah, it's a good big buddy.
But that one moment, it almost made up for that little girl.
Alright.
Almost.
That was a nice interaction. Alright, off to a good start.